All right, on this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about finding slope. And like in the last one where we talked about constant rate of change, I told you that constant rate of change and slope were very similar, if not the same thing. The only difference between that last one and this one is that I'm going to give you a formula now to use when they ask you to find slope from 2 points. And when I say 2 points, they're going to give you 2 coordinates, like 5, comma 2, and 6, comma 1. And then they're going to ask you to find the slope. Well, the formula for finding slope is m equals, they use the letter m to represent slope. So if you see m or slope, those two things mean the same thing. And the formula for slope is to do y2, whoops, I'm moving my stuff around here. Not sure what's going on. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you'll see some problems here in just a second where they give you 2 points, just like I did over here to the right. And the first thing I would do with those is I would just label them, say that this is my x1 and y1. That this is just my x value from the first point, and this is my y value from the first point. And now I'm going to go to the other one and very similarly write x2 and y2, because those are that's the x coordinate for my second point and the y coordinate for my second point. Now maybe you can see we're going to take these values and put them into that formula. So if I say m equals y2, well, my y2 value is over here, it's 1, minus my y1 value is right here, that's 2. So I'm just going to leave that alone for right now. 1 minus 2 over x2, right here's my x2, that's a 6, minus x1 is that 5. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of simple math. 1 minus 2 leaves me negative 1. 6 minus 5 leaves me positive 1. And if you remember about working with integers, a negative divided by positive is a negative, and 1 divided by 1 is just 1. So my slope would be negative 1. All right, let's look at a couple of examples that you'll find in your IXL topic. Find the slope of the line that passes through 4, 13 and 8, 8. So I'm going to take, and just like I did before, I'm going to write my x1, y1, x2, y2 right next to the points, and then I'm going to put my numbers in. M equals, if I write that equation out one more time, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and fill in my values. y2 is that 8 right there, so I'm going to put in 8 minus, y1 is 13, 8 minus 13 over x2. You can see that x2 value now is 8 also, and then minus x1 is my 4. I'm going to change my colors back. 8 minus 13. That's going to be a negative number, and it's negative 5 over 8 minus 4 is just 4. So when I enter that in, it says enter it as a proper fraction, improper fraction, or integer. Well, this answer that I just found is an improper fraction. And I'm just going to write it in here simply as negative 5 fourths. All right, let's do another example here. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. Find the slope of the line passing through 10, 10, and 6, 13. Again, I'm going to start the same way. x1, y1, x2, y2, and fill in my formula. And if you remember, the formula is y2, that's 13, minus y1, which is 10, over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is 10. So if I go through and do my math, on top I have 13 minus 10. That gives me a 3. And on the bottom, 6 minus 10. I'm subtracting 10. That's a bigger number, so I know it's going to be negative. And it's going to be 4. So when I actually write that answer, I'm going to say it's negative 3 fourths. When I write it in the box, I'm going to say negative 3 divided by 4. And we'll do one more of these here. Find the slope that goes through this. Again, same way. x1, y1, x2, y2. Do the math. y2 is 1, minus y1 is 6, over x2 is 1, minus x1 is 7. Now this one looks like I'm going to end up with a couple of negatives here, because 1 minus 6 on top leaves me with negative 5. 1 minus 7 on the bottom leaves me with negative 6. And if you remember about our integers and positives and negatives, you know that a negative divided by a negative should leave you a positive answer. So my answer for this is 5/6. So I should leave it as 5/6. So that's that. And just to remind you of a couple of things, if I write down a couple of different fractions, if I said maybe 6 over 2, make sure you simplify that. Don't write 6 over 2 and put that in for an answer, because it'll probably tell you it's wrong. Simplify that, and 6 divided by 2 should be 3, and that's the answer you should put in for your slope. Let's maybe say a negative 3 over 12. Well, you should realize that negative 3 over 12 can be simplified. A negative over positive is still a negative answer, but 3 over 12 can be simplified to 1/4. So negative 1/4 is what you should put in for that answer. So just make sure you're still thinking about your simplifying fractions and positives and negatives, because there's some simple mistakes that could be made there. And when you go to put your answer in and you think, yeah, I did this all right, but it's telling me it's wrong, well, double check and make sure you can't simplify the fraction. Double check and make sure your positives and negatives are correct. And then if you can always click the explanation button and see what they're telling you if you've gotten some wrong.